I'm Sabrina, and I never thought I'd be packing my bags with a smile, ready to walk away from a life I'd spent years building. But one morning, as I stuffed clothes into a suitcase for my brother's wedding, my mother-in-law, Evelyn, stood in the doorway of our home in coastal North Carolina, her voice like a whip. "Just divorce Mark and get out so he can be happy," she hissed. My hands froze on a pair of jeans, her words cutting deeper than I'd let her see. Instead of snapping back, I met her glare and said, "As you wish." My voice was calm, almost light, and I saw her eyes narrow, thrown off by my steadiness. That was the moment I knew I was done. Done with her venom, done with the house, done with a life that felt like a cage. I'm 35, a graphic designer who works from home, crafting logos and websites in a cramped corner of the house I share with Evelyn and her husband, Henry. I grew up in a fishing town not far from here, raised by my mom, a schoolteacher who poured every ounce of herself into me and my brothers. She taught me to keep going, to find joy in small things, even when life gets heavy. That's why I stayed in this house, why I kept trying, even when Evelyn made it her mission to tear me down. I met Mark through friends from our community college days, drawn to his quiet ambition and warm laugh. We've been married 13 years, a partnership built on trust and shared dreams, even if it wasn't a whirlwind romance. We have a son, Lucas, who's 12 and loves sketching almost as much as I do. But Mark is a merchant marine, gone for months on cargo ships, leaving me to hold down the fort and deal with Evelyn. Living with her is like dodging bullets. When Mark's grandmother was alive, I cared for her like she was my own, helping her eat, reading to her, making sure she felt loved. I used my freelance income to hire a part-time caregiver, but I handled most of it myself, especially at night. Evelyn, though, never helped. She'd put on a show when Mark was home, acting like the perfect mother-in-law, but the second he left, she turned cold. After his grandmother passed, her mask came off completely. She'd hand me endless chores, cooking elaborate meals, scrubbing floors, then criticize every move I made. One afternoon, she had her friends over, sipping iced tea and gossiping while I cleaned up their spilled popcorn and crumpled napkins. "Hurry up, Sabrina. Dinner's not gonna make itself," she'd say, her voice sharp enough to cut glass, as if I were her maid. The worst was what she did to Lucas. When he was 6, she cornered him while I was at the grocery store, filling his head with lies. "Your mom's trouble, Lucas. She's not good for your dad, and he's gone because of her." I came home to find him curled up on his bed, tears streaking his face, scared I didn't love him. I held him tight, promising those were just mean words, not truth. When Mark got back, he laid into Evelyn, but the damage lingered. Lucas keeps his distance from her now. Recently, he tugged at my sleeve after another of her rants. "Mom, she said you don't belong here. Can't we just leave? Dad would get it." His words hit like a wave, stirring something in me I'd tried to ignore. I kept pushing forward, like my mom taught me, but Evelyn's cruelty was relentless. One evening, I was exhausted from a deadline, my eyes burning from hours at the computer, when she stormed into my room. "What, you're napping now? Get up and cook." I tried to explain I was worn out, needed a break, but she grabbed a bag of pretzels and shook the crumbs over my head, laughing. "Don't be so weak, Sabrina." The crumbs clung to my hair, my shirt, and for a second, I was too shocked to move. It wasn't just the mess, it was the way she relished my pain. That night, I called Mark, my voice shaking as I told him everything. "I can't do this anymore," I said. He was quiet for a long time, then whispered, "I'm with you, Sabrina. Whatever you need." My brother William's wedding in Asheville was my lifeline. I packed for the trip, folding a dress for the ceremony, my heart racing with a mix of nerves and hope. I'd be gone for 3 nights, surrounded by family who lifted me up instead of tearing me down. As I zipped my suitcase, Evelyn's voice sliced through again, that final demand to divorce and leave. I didn't argue. I just smiled, said, "As you wish," and walked out, my suitcase rolling behind me. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. I glanced back at the house. whispering a goodbye to the memories, Lucas's laughter, Mark's rare days home. I was ready for something new. The drive to Asheville was like peeling off a too-tight skin. The coastal flats of North Carolina opened into the winding roads of the Blue Ridge Mountains, their peaks promising a fresh start. I was headed to my brother William's wedding, a small gathering with just family, and the thought of seeing my mom, my brothers, and Lucas made my heart lift. But beneath the excitement, a quiet ache pulsed. I was leaving a life I'd fought for, and even though I knew it was right, the weight of it pressed against my chest. Mark and I had been texting for weeks, planning something we kept secret until now. This wedding wasn't just a celebration. It was my way out. Growing up, my mom showed me that family is worth fighting for, even when it's messy. She'd come home from teaching, her eyes tired but warm, always making time to listen to me and my brothers. William, the youngest, was her dreamer, now a barista in Asheville with a guitar always nearby. His fiancée, Mia, taught yoga, her calm balancing his energy. Their wedding was a chance to reconnect, to feel the kind of love that doesn't come with strings. I'd turned down William's offer to pay for my hotel. He'd set the date to fit my schedule, and I wanted to stand on my own. I needed to prove I could start over, even if just for a weekend. At home, Evelyn's hostility had chipped away at me. After Mark's grandmother passed, the woman I'd cared for like family, Evelyn stopped pretending to be civil. She'd leave me lists of chores, polish the silver, cook a 3-course meal, then roll her eyes when I was too slow. One day, she invited her friends over, their laughter filling the house as I scrubbed their spilled lemonade and cookie crumbs. "Sabrina, you're dragging," she'd snap, lounging with her iced tea. Lucas saw it all when he visited. "Mom, she's awful," he whispered, his eyes wide. "You don't deserve this." Dad would agree. I hugged him, my throat tight, but I wasn't ready to admit how much it hurt. The stress was crushing me. Freelance deadlines kept me up late, my eyes glued to my laptop, and Evelyn's demands made it worse. One evening, I was slumped on the couch, drained from a client project, when she barged in. "What? You're too tired to cook. Get up." I mumbled that I needed a break, but she grabbed a bag of chips and dumped the crumbs over me, smirking. "Don't be pathetic." The crumbs stuck to my skin, and I sat there, stunned, her laughter echoing as she walked away. That night, I texted Mark, pouring out years of hurt. "I'm done, Mark," I wrote. He called right away, his voice steady. "Sabrina, I'm so sorry. Let's fix this." We started planning, not just for the wedding but for what came after. Pulling into the Asheville hotel, I saw William waiting, his grin wide as he hugged me. "You're here, sis," he said, his energy infectious. Lucas ran up, his sketchbook tucked under his arm, checking if I was okay. That night, we ate together, my mom sharing stories of our childhood, Mia laughing about William's terrible first gigs. For the first time in months, I felt whole. But the next day, Mark arrived, his face soft but serious. In our hotel room, he pulled out divorce papers. "Rough day, huh?" he said, his smile bittersweet. "This is for you." My heart clenched as I took the pen. We were ending 13 years together, not because we didn't care, but because Evelyn's poison was too much to bear. Signing those divorce papers felt like cutting a knot I'd been trying to untangle for years. Mark and I sat in the hotel room, the sounds of William's wedding drifting through the window, music, laughter, the clink of toasts. My hand trembled as I signed my name, the ink marking the end of something I'd poured my heart into. Mark's eyes held mine, full of sorrow but also strength. "This is for you, Sabrina," he said quietly. "You deserve better than her." I nodded, tears stinging, but they weren't for us. They were for the years I'd spent swallowing Evelyn's cruelty, for the freedom I was finally claiming. We agreed to keep it quiet during the wedding. William and Mia deserved their day. As I walked into the ceremony, my dress soft against my skin, I felt a spark of something new. This wasn't just goodbye, it was hello to me. The wedding was magic, set in an Asheville garden with flowers blooming wild. William beamed, his arm around Mia, as they vowed to love each other forever. My mom squeezed my hand, Lucas sketched the scene from his seat, and I felt my family's warmth wrap around me. Mark stood close, his presence steady, and I thought about our marriage. 13 years of building a life, even if it started practical, not passionate. That night, as we danced under fairy lights, he leaned in. "You're my rock, Sabrina," he whispered. "Always will be." I smiled, my heart caught between joy and ache. "You too," I said, holding him a moment longer. Mark went back to confront his parents alone. He told me later, his voice heavy over the phone, how it went down. He sat them in the living room, the same room where Evelyn had dumped crumbs on me, and laid out the truth, my years of caregiving, my freelance money spent on the family, her endless attacks. Henry, my father-in-law, listened, his jaw tight. He'd helped me care for his mother, lifting her when my arms weren't enough, and we'd built a quiet respect. But Evelyn? She'd done nothing, living off Henry's pension and acting like she ruled the house. When Mark told him about the lies she'd fed Lucas, Henry's face turned red. "She drove out the best thing in this family," he roared, glaring at Evelyn. Evelyn stammered, claiming it was all a mix-up, but Henry wasn't buying it. "You've been lazy your whole life," he said, his voice like gravel. "Sabrina cooked, cleaned, paid for your vacations. And you treated her like garbage." He brought up my sacrifices, how I'd used my earnings for Lucas's art classes, for family dinners out. Evelyn had never worked, and now her uselessness was exposed. Henry declared he wanted a divorce, and Evelyn panicked, her voice shrill as she begged. But he was done. He dragged her to the door, locked it, and ignored her screams, even when neighbors called the cops. Mark said Evelyn stood on the porch, crying like her world had ended. For me, it felt like mine was just beginning. I wasn't there, but the image of Evelyn, her pride shattered, gave me no joy, just relief. I'd spent years keeping the peace for Mark and Lucas, but now, justice felt like a deep breath after holding it too long. I was free, and I wasn't looking back. A week later, I met Mark at our old cafe in Wilmington, the place we'd gone to when we were just friends, before life got complicated. The smell of coffee and salt water calmed me as Mark shared what happened next. Evelyn was gone, living in a tiny apartment across town, surrounded by takeout boxes and regret. Henry had pushed through with the divorce, his anger at her years of laziness too raw to soften. Mark's sister, in Charlotte, tried to defend Evelyn at a family meeting, but Mark stopped her cold. He showed them Lucas's emails, written at my request, detailing the lies Evelyn told him as a kid, how she'd said I was no good, that I'd ruin his dad. Henry hadn't known the half of it, and his face fell, guilt mixing with rage. "She's on her own now," Mark said, sipping his coffee. "She calls, begging, but I can't help her. Not after what she did." I touched his hand. "You don't owe her, Mark. She chose this." I meant it. Evelyn had spent years cutting me down, mocking William's wedding, shaking crumbs on me when I was exhausted, telling me to leave. Now, she was living the loneliness she'd wished on me. It wasn't revenge. It was what she'd earned. I remembered the day I went back for my things. Evelyn was there, her face ghost white as I packed my clothes, Lucas's sketches, the laptop I'd bought with my first big freelance check. She dropped to her knees, voice trembling. "Sabrina, I'm sorry. It was a mistake. Please talk to Mark." I kept packing, my heart steady. Her apologies turned to venom, and she yelled, "You're nothing but trouble. Get out and stay gone." When she lunged at my box, scattering my clothes, I stepped back, pulse racing. Mark appeared, his voice sharp. "Stop it," he shouted, his eyes fierce. Evelyn froze, shocked by her son's anger. I looked at her, calm and cold. "We're done. You're not my family." I scooped up my things, stuffed them in the box, and walked out, her shouts fading behind me. That moment was my turning point. I'd spent years bending to Evelyn, keeping things smooth for Mark and Lucas. But standing up to her, I felt strong, like I'd reclaimed a piece of myself. Later, I met Henry at the cafe. He looked worn, his hands rough from years at the shipyard. "I failed you, Sabrina," he said, voice low. "I should have stopped her." I smiled, not out of pity, but gratitude. "You stood up when it counted. I said. Then I offered, if you need help, meals, anything, I'm here, not as family, but as a friend. His eyes brightened, and I knew we'd always have that bond from caring for his mother together. Driving home, the ocean glinting under the sun, I felt a quiet power. Evelyn's fall wasn't my triumph, it was her reckoning. I was ready to build a life where I didn't brace for the next blow, where I could just be me. A month later, I moved into a bright apartment in Wilmington, a short drive from the old house. It's pet-friendly, with windows that catch the morning light, perfect for my cat, Luna, who sprawls across my desk while I work. I'm still designing logos, websites, anything that lets my creativity breathe. Every week, I visit Henry, cooking him meals like shrimp and grits or apple pie, the kind we used to make for his mom. We talk about his shipyard days, and it feels like family, but better, chosen, not forced. He's grateful, and so am I. Mark and I are finding something new. Our marriage was practical, built on trust, but not romance. Now we're writing a different story. When he's back from sea, we grab dinner at beachside spots, walk the Wilmington boardwalk, or catch a local band. We text silly gifs, laugh like we're 20 again, and it's exciting, this chance to fall in love for real. Lucas, my sweet artist, teases us. You guys are dating now, huh, he says, sketching at my kitchen table. He's right, and it feels like a gift, rediscovering Mark after 13 years. Evelyn's life is a shadow. She's in a small apartment, living on fast food, barely leaving except to shop. Mark checks on her sometimes, but her regret doesn't reach me. She told me to divorce, to disappear, and now she's the one alone, her words turned against her. I don't hate her. I just don't care. My heart's too full of new beginnings to hold onto her poison. Sometimes I dream about remarrying Mark. We've whispered about it, a plan for when Evelyn's out of the picture, maybe with her daughter or in a facility. At 35, it feels wild to be this hopeful, to imagine love with the man I've always cared for. But that's my life now, a chance to choose joy, to be the woman I was always meant to be. To everyone who's walked this road with me, thank you. You've seen me through pain, courage, and a new dawn. If my story moved you, hit subscribe and join us. Every step forward is a tale of strength, of finding light after the storm. Keep building your own path, and I'll meet you where hope begins.